Well, here we are once again. Okay, so this video is going to be helping you with some tips and tricks and some information that you're going to need to make your toile. At this point, you should have made your template, your blocks, and your pattern pieces. And you should have everything ready to go for this video. Again, I'm going to link below all the previous videos, as well as I'll have a list of the things you're going to need to make a toile, because they are going to be different now from the previous videos. And honestly, once you get the toile done and fitted properly, you're ready to make your final garment. Now, this is for the garment we chose as our final project. I have mentioned this in previous videos. If you have gone ahead and made your own garment with like a Haslam pattern from one of the books you already own, please let me know that you did. Also, let me know which one you made, and feel free to share photos with me. You can do that over on Instagram, or I will actually if you have made a garment that is not the final one that we've chosen, which is amazing. I didn't want people to have to buy more things if they didn't have to. Let me know in the comments below what you made. Also, feel free to message me and send me a link to your Instagram if you have posted photos, and I would love to reshare those. Would love to see what everybody has made after the series. I would really love it. And there is going to be a follow-up video. It's not going to be at the week after this one. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks out. And I'm going to share with you my final garment, and we'll do a bit of a wrap-up. So if you have any questions about the series, please leave them below, and if I'm able to answer them, I will. So yeah, we are now ready to make our final garments. I hope everyone has had a lot of fun with this. I always have fun with Haslam. It's like this puzzle you gotta put together. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, hopefully I get to see all of your finished garments, and you will see mine in a few weeks. Thanks for joining me. Hello, and it's time to sew. So you're not getting a full visual of me today because we're sewing. So you're gonna get part of my body and the sewing machine. And the sewing machine. So we are doing the toile for this top here. You can see that okay. At this point now, you should have watched the other videos, and you should have all of your pattern pieces ready. In total, there should be a front body, a back body, 2 yokes, and 2 facings. This should be a fairly quick sew, so they say. And the other thing you're going to need is the instructions, and just a little note on the instructions in all of the Haslam books, especially the earlier ones. They can seem a little cryptic. I'm not gonna lie. Even when I read them, I'm sometimes think to myself, what? What does that mean? They're assuming that you already know how to sew. We are doing blouse A. That is on, oh, it doesn't have a page number. Unfortunately, no page number, but it's under, excuse my voice, general note. Basically what we're doing is, in this case, if you look at the illustration again, the sleeve is the yoke. So this is, I guess, along here they're considering this the band. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to sew the yoke to the body for both the back and front. For the front, if you'll remember, we made 2 notches showing where you begin and end your gathering stitches. So, you know, you will gather those before you attach it to the yoke, and, you know, you'll adjust it to fit the yoke. So, what I suggest we do, because this is a very simple blouse, so we shouldn't have to take too long sewing it. What I would like you to do is sew the body to the yoke pieces. The back, there is no gatherings. The front, there will be gatherings. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the back piece, the back pieces, the yoke and the back together. And then when I come back, I'm just going to show you in a close-up what I mean by the gathering part, just in case anyone's confused. So I know many of you, and I'm going to jump in now before you get any further, are going to say, wait, my yoke seam does not match up to my body piece. That's because we cut the yoke to be the same exact shape as the body. So there's 2 options here. And I apologize, when I was doing the pattern pieces, my vision was to do it this way. If you haven't done your pattern pieces yet and you don't want to do it this way, what you'll need to do is go back and draw the bottom part of the yoke to match the shape of the top of the body piece. What I've done, this isn't in the instructions, but for me when I was visualizing it, it seemed to be the easiest way to do it, is, and also it helps make the yoke look smoother, in my opinion. Rather than put the 2 seams together and sew your seam allowance, in my case I did 3/8 of an inch. A lot of people do 5/8 or 1/2 inch. I have folded this under by the seam allowance and then pinned it. So you're going to have, you know, it matching up here to a certain degree. What you could do later if you want is you could go back and serge it, you can hand stitch it down. I'm going to, when I do my final fabrics, I'm going to serge my seams just so it doesn't fray. But for me, I just feel like this way the yoke is going to match better, and it is a bit finicky to do, but it will look nice once it's done. But like I said, if you don't want to do that, you go back and redo your yoke piece to match the shape of the armsicle so that they fit together. That's up to you. For me, I feel like this is a very quick and easy way to do it. And then basically what you're going to do is once you've got it pinned, you're going to go and you're going to top stitch close to the edge all around. And when you get to the point of having to do the pivot, you're still going to be close to the edge of the fabric. Bring your needle down with your wheel, and then you're going to pivot. Very carefully pivot so that you're still lining up when you put the foot back down, close to the edge. You're going to be smoothing your fabric as you go as well, because it is a lot of angles and curves. So just smooth as you go. Again, you don't need to rush this, just take your time. You are going to have to pull your needles out as you go. Get as close as you can before you do. That way it just holds your edge in place. But honestly, giving it a little bit of a light press before you sew helps a lot too. I apologize, the lighting is not the best, but hopefully you can see the edge stitching. I did a contrasting color, just so you could see what I was doing. So the edge is the stitches are very close to the edge of the yoke. Okay, so the yoke part is done for the front. Because it's not a contrasting color, you might not be able to see it as well. So we're going to do the exact same for the front piece. However, before we do that, let me just quickly show you what I meant by the gathering part, the gathering section. So hopefully you can see this okay. In the illustration, right above your breasts, there are gathers. Right here and here. In the pattern, when we made it, there were 2 lines that we cut down and spread to add in total 3 inches, because the each additional piece was 1.5 inches, so we have 3 inches of area that we spread across. And we added, the instructions did not have this, neither did the pattern instructions, the illustrations, but so that you know where the gathers begin and end, we added 2 notches here. So what you're going to do first with your front piece, on both sides of your top, on the right and the left, you're going to gather those stitches first, pull them in so they're gathered up, and then just like the back, we are going to, instead of trying to layer the 2 pieces together, we are actually going to put the yoke on top, fold the seam allowance in, pin it, and then we're going to do the very close edge stitch again. So go ahead and do those 2 things, and we'll be back. So what I've done for the front piece is I have pinned the seams up to the point on each side, starting from the armsicle up to the point where the gathers are. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to ease, because right now it's going to look like that this is shorter than this, or sorry, this is shorter than this is longer, this is shorter. What it's going to look like is that this is longer and this is shorter. So what you're going to do is you're going to ease this out to match this. What I've also done is, before I start easing the gathers into the yoke, I've pinned the middle part of the yoke to the middle part of the front piece. That way you have something sort of holding the yoke in position. It'll just make it a little bit easier when you try to ease in this part here. So you're going to, let me just pull this back up again. Okay, so I've used the biggest stitch on my machine. And also, do not backstitch. When you're doing gathering stitches, don't backstitch, because you want to be able to pull the thread. And then with me, like what I do personally is, when everything's sewn in place, I pull the gathering stitches out. You don't have to. I just, for neatness, that's why I do it. And you're going to grab one of the threads and you're just going to pull it until it gathers up. I usually pull from both sides, just to just easier for me anyway. And then you're going to have your gathers, and now you're going to go take it and you're going to ease it into the yoke piece, just like you did the back. Okay, so the yoke is attached to the body. We have eased in the gathering. You can see the gathering right here. We're going to go ahead and do exactly the same as with the back. We are going to sew along the edge of the yoke. And then when we're done that, we'll go on to the next step. So next you are going to pin your shoulder seams, your top shoulder seams, and sew those. Okay, now that you've sewn your shoulder seams up, this next part is a choose your own adventure. You can, for the neck, you can make facings, completely up to you. Fold the hem. I would do 1/4 inch seam if you're going to do that to finish your neck, or you could use bias binding. Same with your sleeves, your finished sleeves. When you get to that, you can do either bias binding or you can do a hem, like fold it in and hem it. I'm going to hem my sleeves. My neck I am doing facings. So for your facing, depending how stiff you want, this is for your final garment. For the toiles, I don't do this. For your final garment, for your facing, if you want a stiffer neckline, it also helps it from stretching. You should also put interfacing, especially if you don't want the neckline to stretch, depending on what fabric you're using. So if you are doing a facing like myself, the next step is to sew up the seams on the facing. So once you have sewn both of those seams, go and press them down, because it's going to make your life easier later. So go ahead and get the pressing done, and then once you've pressed those seams down, pin your facing to your top. So I finished sewing on the facing. So what you're going to do with the finished garment, I'm not going to do it with the toile, but with the finished garment, you're going to understitch so that your neckline isn't rolling out. And then give it a good press, which I'm still going to do. I'm going to give it a good press. So the next part is another choose your own adventure. So in the instructions it says make a few tucks at the bottom or slot about 1 inch below the waist with elastic. So it's a couple of things you can do here actually. You can put a side zip if you want. You can leave it loose as is. If you're going to do tucks, it is going to make it tighter. It's going to fit into your waist more. You're going to do the tucks around the waist. In that case, you're probably going to want a side zipper. And the other option is to do the elastic waist. You could make this more of a crop top if you want. You could do the full length. It's totally up to you. So at that point, you'd go off and do whichever you want to do. I'm going to go and sew the sides up to see how the fit is, because in my case I'm not going to do any of those. I want it to stay loose, and I'm going to tuck it into my skirt or trousers or whatever. I do want a looser fit for this one, but for you, go ahead and do whatever option you want. And then once the side seams are sewn up, you're going to go ahead and hem the the bottom of the garment. You're going to finish off your sleeves however you want, if you're going to do bias tape or if you're going to do hemming or whatever you're going to do. So go ahead and do the stuff that you want to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish off what I was doing, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the finished toile. I am going to have to do a couple of tweaks to this, realizing I didn't compensate for I have a belly. So when I put this on, I have sewn up both side seams. When I put this on, I did find that from my natural waist down, it was snug. I could still get it on. It was snug. If I add an inch, grade from my natural waist, right here, I've actually marked with marker. See the marker right here. So if I grade from there down, in sort of a triangular shape, the widest being at the bottom, I'm going to add an inch on either side. So in total 2 inches. So each piece I'll add half an inch, or each seam, sorry, I'll add half an inch, and each full piece will be additional 1 inch at the bottom. The other thing I did find is that the armhole was ever so slightly too tight. And I feel like if I add half an inch to that, it'll fix that problem, because what's happening right now is because it is too tight, it is not falling properly, and there is a bit of bunching at the back. I opened it up a little bit, and yeah, the bunching went away. So those are the things I need to fix on mine. I also noticed for some reason the back piece is an inch longer than the front piece at the bottom. So I'm going to have to go back and fix that on my pattern piece as well. I don't know why one is longer than the other. I'm going to match them up the best I can to the finished toile to see if I just did something when I was cutting it out, or if the pattern piece is actually 1 inch longer. So this is meant to look like a peasant blouse. That sort of style. However, if you want it to be sleeker, like I said, you could put 1 or 2 tucks here on either side, up to you. You could also make it shorter, like make it a crop top if you want, because this style of crop top was very popular in the 1950s. You could also put it in, and do an elastic when you do that. You could do the elastic down here. Totally up to you. You could also, but I'm telling you though, if you're putting tucks, you are going to need a side zipper if you are using a woven. I actually want to try this pattern out with a knit, because I think this would be a very comfortable knit. The only thing is, if you're going to do that, you're going to want to raise the neckline, because with a knit, it is going to stretch out a bit. So you're going to want to probably have the neckline here, so you would adjust your yoke by adding that difference. That's my thought on that. But I think this would be really cute in a jersey, or a knit, or something that has a bit of stretch to it. It would also be very cute in something drapey, like, they mentioned silk, right? Any rayon. Oh, rayon would be beautiful. I actually have rayon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a woven. I have the fabric ready, and so that's going to be more like a wearable toile. And then I might even do something that's drapey, because I do have some beautiful drapey fabric in my stash. And that would be another stash buster for me. Okay, so let me know how your toile went. I know that not everyone did the actual top. They did their own toile with whatever pattern they already had. I just noticed something else. The other thing you could do, I don't mind it here, but if you don't want the gathers there, you could move the gathers over to here. Up to you. You do what you liked for the shape that you want. Yeah, so if you did a different garment, if you pick something out of the Haslam magazines that are not this, And if you run into trouble, message me. I will help you the best that I can. So that is the toile for now. And then I'm going to do a couple of tweaks. As I said, I'm going to add the inch around the waist. Or so it'll end up being 2 inches. It'll be inch on either side. So it'll end up being 2 inches altogether. I'm going to look to see why the back pattern is longer than the front pattern. And I'm also going to add half an inch to an inch in the arm. I just find it's a little snug, and because of that, in the back, right at the armhole, it is bunching a bit, and I think adjusting that armhole is going to fix that problem. Let me know what fit issues you had. And then the next video is going to actually be me wearing, or Bunty, one of us is going to be wearing the finished, like with the nice fabric, with all the tweaks. And, with any drafted home system, even if you've done your pattern block, every garment has a different shape, which means that you are going to have to do adjustments to your pattern. Not everything's going to fit out of the box. However, using Haslam and using a pattern block will make things easier for you when it comes to fitting, because you're going to have the general fit down. You're just going to have to tweak, just like I'm going to have to do with this. So the next thing you're going to see is the finished garment, or with the good fabric, and we'll have a chat about things we've learned. If I've received any questions, try to answer those, and then I'll come up with some hints, tips, that kind of thing.